Today, we're learning about small adjustments that can shave seconds off your lap times. The reason champion level drivers always hit quicker lap times, it's because of these adjustments. You might have a solid understanding of the basic racing technique, but without this missing piece, you'll always be guessing if you're doing the right thing or not. Racing at the limit is in fact an art form, and I've analyzed countless laps from top drivers. They all follow the same pattern. So in this video, I'm breaking it down. This is the proven 5 steps framework on how to drive at the grip limit. By the way, I'm Marian, I've coached real life racers, created a Get Good Racing course, and this stuff is all I do all day long. Alright, let's dive in. Now before we go into the details, there's a critical first piece that you have to understand. And this alone will put into a better perspective the 5 steps framework.
At the limit, the car is constantly communicating with you through your steering wheel, tire noise, and the horizon line. The wheel gets lighter when you're under or over driving and heavier when you're loading the tires correctly. In terms of sound, a healthy slip angle gives a slight screech, almost like singing a song throughout the duration of all corner phases. And these changes in rotations are visible if you're looking at the horizon line and notice when the scenery is moving with different speeds.
So we need to train your hearing, feeling and seeing senses before we start applying the 5 steps framework. Don't get me wrong, you'll see the framework itself is really powerful, but once you start to sharpen your senses, you'll unlock its full potential. Here's a quick and practical way to do it. Load up the centripetal circuit, choose a lane and try to keep the car in that lane even as you increase speed. As the car starts to understeer because of the speed, notice how the steering wheel gets lighter. When that happens, gently feather the brakes and you'll feel the car almost wanting to rotate. Listen to the tires, watch the horizon line and feel the weight shift.
Hold up for a second. Videos like this takes weeks to make, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I appreciate it.
With that out of the way, the first step of the framework is about efficient racing lines. And I'm not talking here about something obvious that you already know, I'm talking about something more subtle that can compound to a lot of lap time.
It's common knowledge that the more track you use, the larger the radius of your turns, reducing the required steering angle and increasing cornering speed. But we have to do it in a way that doesn't disrupt the balance of the car. In this example, the driver is maximizing the entry with the widest possible racing line. But this is wrong. Why? Because under braking, the car is now experiencing both horizontal and vertical weight transfer, which overload the tires, reducing grip. The car is pointing towards the left under braking, even though the next corner is a right-hander. Instead, you want to bring the car to the left side much earlier, so that by the time you're braking, your car is not pointing in the opposite direction. Shortening the distance is another part of driving efficient racing lines, and in some cases is not that obvious. Take for example these corners. We can reduce the distance traveled by braking diagonally and therefore cutting unnecessary distance without sacrificing exit speed. Also, sweepers are good indicators of the efficiency of a driver choosing his lines. In those types of corners, every unnecessary movement adds distance and unsettles the car. Maggots and Beckets expose these inefficiencies. If you're weaving slightly, you're scrubbing speed and slowing down more than you need. Having a perfect racing line should be your #1 priority before mastering anything else. And just saying use all the track isn't enough. What does that actually mean? The underlying skill is spatial awareness. Knowing your car's dimensions and proportions, understanding exactly where your left and right tires are in space, and being able to place them with precision. If you don't know where your car is on the track, you'll always leave small margin, losing precious time. Just in this example, the difference between using all the track and using almost all the track is so little, but it results in 1.5 tenths quicker lap times for this particular corner. But efficiency alone isn't enough. There's another key factor that takes it even further, and it leads up to the second step of the 5 steps framework. Most drivers don't truly understand what fishing for grip means, and that's why they're slow. So let me show you what all the top drivers are doing. It's the reason why you're not yet driving at the limit. But to set the stage, let's start from a baseline. Good braking has two phases: threshold braking to shave off speed, and trail braking to help rotate the car into the corner. Most corners follow this pattern. You press the brakes hard on entry, then gradually release them as you steer in. This is simple in theory, but here's the secret of all the quick drivers. They're constantly adjusting their inputs. If you zoom in on braking telemetry, you'll notice small fluctuations, tiny up and down movements in brake pressure. These aren't mistakes, they're deliberate micro adjustments. Here's why. As they release the brakes, the front tires regain some grip, but this can induce understeer. To counter this, they reapply a slight bit of braking, shifting weight forward and helping the car rotate. But now, speed drops. To regain speed, they release the brakes again, but this reduces rotation. These cycles repeats like a dance as they fine-tune their balance between rotation and speed in real time. Instead of braking once and hoping for the best, they are constantly fishing for grip, making micro corrections to stay right on the edge of adhesion. And that's why inducing understeer and oversteer is crucial. Trail braking induces oversteer by shifting weight forward, but too much can lead to a spin or overslowing the car. To counter this, a micro release of the brakes restores speed and reduces oversteer. However, this quickly shifts the balance towards understeer, requiring a slight brake reapplication to regain rotation. It's a continuous fine-tuning process, balancing speed and rotation in real time. And the same thing can be said about the steering input. Look at my approach in this corner. Do you notice these back and forth movements on the steering wheel? That's me trying to use more grip by cranking the steering, feeling the force feedback getting lighter, backing up to avoid sliding the front tires, and then trying again in a smaller increment, and it happens all the time. When practicing this step of the framework, you want to push more speed into the corner while focusing on the tire sounds, force feedback, and the horizon line. Watch for the signs we mentioned in the beginning of the video about exceeding the limit, back off slightly, and immediately reattempt to find the new threshold. If you're not sure you're doing it correctly, send me a direct message or ask that question on my Discord server. We have one of the quickest drivers there that can help you out. This all ties nicely with the traction circle. Being at the limit is staying in the circle, on the edge of it. But here's what most coaches don't tell you, and it's a game changer. When you're braking, pressing the throttle, or you're turning the steering wheel, lateral and longitudinal forces compete for grip, and your tires can only handle so much at once. If you try to max out two forces at once, you'll exceed the limit and slide. Push too little and you're driving under the limit, leaving free grip on the table. But most people see the traction circle as a fixed shape, where in reality it's constantly deforming and shifting. The moment you're overcommitting in one direction, too much throttle, steering or braking, you're squeezing the circle and the grip escapes somewhere else. Instead of thinking of it as a rigid limit, imagine it as a balloon. Press too hard in one area and another part bulges out and loses stability. So stop treating the traction circle like a box you need to fit inside. The traction circle is about the budget of grip available at any point in time. We can use it for braking, steering and accelerating. If we say we have 100% available tire grip, we have to split it between our inputs. We can't use it for both accelerating and cornering. We can't even use 1% more for accelerating if we're using 100% for cornering. It will just spin the car. To put it into practice, staying inside the traction limit on the edge of it means braking late and hard, using 100% of the available traction for braking. As we turn into the corner, we must trade some of the braking traction to cornering traction, releasing the brakes and applying more steering, but progressively, so that we don't go under the limit. The same thing goes on the exit when we're trading to 100% acceleration traction. I know, This can feel like a lot to take in, but if you follow this video step by step, I guarantee you'll see a huge improvement. This is just a part of more than 5 years I spent testing and refining everything I teach, and if you like my approach and you're serious about improving, you can check out getgoodracing.com/simracing course. It has everything you need and more. And this leads us to the fourth step of the framework, which is predictive driving. In the context of tire grip, the limit is not a rigid number but a dynamic threshold that shifts based on your inputs. Imagine the total grip limit being 300% in total. 100% for entry, 100 for mid, and 100 for the exit. If you push beyond that, say using 110% on entry and still push 100% on mid and exit, you'll exceed the 300% total and you will lose time. So once you go past the grip limit in any phase of the corner, you have to predict what's going to happen and back off. In this example, pushing 110% on entry will most likely mean you need to go to 90% mid-corner so that you can still have a 100% exit. Think of it as seeing the future. Those drivers can mentally project how much grip they will have in the next phase of the corner based on their current speed, angle, and surface conditions. Conversely, if you enter the corner at 80% of the grip limit, you have extra capacity available. This means you can carry more speed throughout mid-corner or apply throttle earlier on exit, optimizing overall cornering efficiency. The key is predicting grip usage across all the three phases and distributing it strategically rather than reacting too late. To make predictive driving easier, you need to develop atomic references, precise, repeatable markers for each corner. You should have 3 fixed reference points, one for braking, one for steering, and one for going back on throttle. Vague references like braking in the middle of the curb introduce too much variation over a stint. Instead, aim for pixel-perfect references, markers you can hit without millimeters every lap. And this will lead us to the final step of the framework, the drill to put everything into practice. Pick a corner and use active resets to push your absolute best sector time, gradually improving with each attempt. At first, progress comes quickly, but soon you'll hit a plateau, a point where gain seems impossible. That's when the refinement begins. Number 1. Feel the limit. Focus on force feedback, sensing when you're going under or over the grip limit. Number 2. Listen to the tires. Tire noise reveals slip. Use it to fine-tune your grip management. And also check the horizon line for sudden shift in rotations. Number 3. Analyze your line. Review or replay. Are you using every inch of the track? Are you covering unnecessary distance? Number 4. Micro adjustments. Experiment with grip fishing, pushing harder on entry and refining atomic references for braking, turning, and accelerating. And finally, number 5. Predict the grip limit. Once you start doing a couple more attempts, you will start to see a pattern. And this is very important because you will train yourself to see if you can accurately predict what the car will be doing if you put a little bit more braking into the corner, if you put a bit more speed into the corner, if you're going earlier on throttle. See how the car behaves and check if your prediction will match reality. Execute each step systematically, staying on the edge of the traction circle, and apply everything we covered. Then, go out and beat your best lap time.
With all these videos, what I'm trying to do is to share something that I think it's valuable. It's not about views, numbers, or anything else. I mean, I do enjoy when I see that one of my videos is just popping off, but honestly, it's about the community here on YouTube and also on my Discord server. I'm really grateful for that. So thank you for being here, checking my videos. Some of those are not as good, they're quite bad in different ways, and my accent is still not as good, as you can notice, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm happy to see people tuning into my videos. It really means a lot to me.